Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be replacing the front brake pads and rotors on my '03 Toyota Highlander. So first things first, make sure you brick your wheels just in case. Safety first. So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove this bolt that holds the brake line onto the front strut. There we go. Set that to the side where it won't get lost. And then next, there are two bolts right here, one here and one here, holding the brake caliper on. These are 14 millimeter. We'll go ahead and come at it with a socket. You can also break these loose with a breaker bar, should they be particularly stubborn. There we go. And I started loosening this earlier. I actually used the breaker bar, but then I watched the video and it wasn't really showing what I was doing, so ended up putting it back on and moving the camera so I could get a better shot. Anyways, here's the first bolt, and then this just kind of comes off like a clamshell. And then from here, maybe, from here you can pull out the old brake rotors. And here we go. Then we'll go ahead and come at this 14 millimeter bolt up top. Just go ahead and get the breaker bar. And then as I try to hold it in place, may have to put the bottom bolt back in. Here we go. All right, and then have a bucket ready because this brake caliper is also connected to your brake line and you don't want to break the brake line. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera real quick. And there we go. Then right back here, there are two 17 millimeter bolts holding the mounting bracket in place. One here and one here. We're going to go ahead and break those loose. We'll go ahead and start with the bottom and then do the top. All right, and then once you have that loose, you can go ahead and come at it with a 17mm bolt. Yeah, the main thing is these are on there pretty tight, so be prepared for these to fight you a little bit. All right, and then off this comes. All right, and then right here's the part where you transfer your hardware. These just snap off and go back on. I ended up missing one in the box, so I ended up reusing this one. You do what you have to do sometimes. And then right up here are your points of lubrication. I already kind of pulled back the rubber grommet on this one so I could pull it out, but you have two of them. You just take a rag, clean these off, and then I'll usually put them back in and pull them back out so that I can make sure I have all the grease, or at least most of it. And then you lubricate them, and then you place them back in. So you just grab these, wipe them down, place them back in. Wipe them again. And then here's our grease. And then here's a little tip from Chris Fix, actually. When you do this, it's good to use a silicone-based grease, because if you use straight grease, it's going to eat away at these rubber grommets and make them disintegrate, and that's what we don't want. So silicone-based grease for the win. All right. Then make sure you put the rubber grommets back in place. And then the most tedious part, greasing your new brake pads and placing them in. Also, the only way to really do it is to grease them and fit them in inward like this. And then here are your 3 points of grease, right here on the back, and then right here on the sides. But on the sides, I'm going a little conservative just because you don't want this to hit your brake rotor and then you have grease on your brakes. And then this is what you have once you're done. All right, now we got to deal with this brake rotor that's rusted on. So right here are 2 screw holes for that exact reason. You just take a screw, or actually a bolt, place it in like that. And then this particular bolt is 14 millimeters. So you just take a socket and pop it off. And there we go. Then we take the new rotor and we spray it down with some brake clean. We do this because the manufacturer puts grease on them, because when they ship them out to the stores, they have no way of knowing how long it's going to sit in the warehouse, and they don't want the rotors to rust. As for why I'm doing this on a chair, this chair is old and broken. My friend gave it to me, asking if I could take it when I do a dump run. I did the dump run, forgot about the chair, so here it is. And then just place the new brake rotor on the car. Just like that. All right, now we are ready to put the mounting bracket back on. And before you put these bolts back in place, make sure you use some removable thread locker. These will keep road vibrations and bumps in the road from loosening these bolts. All right, and then from here, get your torque wrench and make sure they are torqued down to about 79 foot-pounds. There we go. All right, and then right now we need to remove some brake fluid because we are going to push this cylinder back into the caliper. All right, and then it's good to keep this open, keep the cap over it, but keep the cap loose. This way your brake fluid is still protected from the elements, but you don't get any resistance when you try to push that cylinder in. All right, so for this, we'll take an old brake pad. We'll take a C-clamp, and then line it up like this, and then just push the cylinder in until it's flush with the brake caliper. There we go. And that's what you want it to look like when you're done. All right, and now we're ready to put the caliper back on. And then same thing, use just a little bit of thread locker to keep these bolts in place from road vibrations and bumps in the road. And then just torque them down. And then grab your torque wrench. And torque these down to about 25 foot-pounds. There we go. There we go. Then go ahead and put your brake line back in place. There we go. And then get in the vehicle and push down on the brake. Do it a few times. What this is going to do is that cylinder we push back into the brake caliper, it's going to push it towards the new brake pads, and this way everything's in place. Now you're ready to put this wheel on and call the job done. There's no need to bleed the brake fluid since we didn't disconnect the caliper from the brake line. Also, I invite you to come check out Jesus Bible Study. I take passages from the Bible and make them relevant to today's world. Link to today's video will be in the description. If you like today's video, be sure to like and subscribe. You guys have a blessed day.